Hello. Today I will be tackling two issues. Well, I will make two videos regarding BGFX, and the first one will be, which is this one. This video will be about just compiling BGFX, or one of my BGFX programs which I made, because I have been working with BGFX for about a year now, and I have to admit, it's kind of a beast to compile. At the beginning it's just a headache, especially if you're new to graphics programming in general, but then at the end of the day, the author of the library did mention that you have to have some sort of, prior experience with graphics, but I kind of did with OpenGL, so I didn't really bother. I tried to do it either way, and it was very painful, but we can work through it. So this actually, I'm not gonna compile this one, maybe this one, function renderer. It's just a silly it's a silly visualizer of a computational function. It will have one point for every x and y combination, of course, because it's a function. So that's just a rectangle if you look at it top down, and we're going to try to compile it. This is just a simple, you could say, like starter project, from which I then derive other projects, because it has everything set up and prepared for then making a derivative. That's why I picked this project in particular, and I will be showing you how you compile it. So first thing first, the project has quite a few directories, and let me just has quite a few directories. First of all, third party, which is something we're going to have to fetch right now. Sub module update init recursive. This will fetch all of the third-party dependencies we will need. Quite a few. This is why it's so hard to compile, because if you need imgui, GLM, glfw for windowing, BGFX then, as well as asymp to load 3D models, it's quite a lot of hassling, and at least in this case, because all of the dependencies are CMake repositories, which I guess would simplify it. One would say, but you will see. We will go into quite some hassle, and yeah. But we will go through it. At least this is currently the status of the whole situation right now. Maybe it will get easier as we move on. But yeah, this is why I am making this video. So after this finishes, we can continue. But for now, we can just take a look at the whole project. So images, that's useless content. Okay, this directory actually shouldn't be even in the repository, but whatever. Include has just some includes. You have engine objects like a graph for a graphing function object, then which derives from the object. For simple 2D graphics you have quad, or for 3D stuff you have model. Then for imgui, whatever. This is the main part. Some models, but we don't even need it, but whatever. Then we have the shaders and the SRC, and the third party, well, yeah, that's something. The SRC is honestly just the engine, the most important part. This is just something that will call the engine, and then the engine is, yeah. But since this is finished, you can take a look. So function renderer is just initializing the engine and whatever. Then you go into the engine and you have engine init, or what the hell do you have? Yeah, engine init, there, which calls glfw, blah 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 blah. You can take a look at this code. It just sets everything up with glfw for windowing. Then gives control to BGFX for graphics. Here you can see this is primarily this will primarily work out of the box with Linux if you have X11. If you have Wayland, you will have to change some of this stuff, especially if you're on Windows. Then I guess you have to completely go around this. Yeah, so glfw for windowing, then clears everything. You have some basic view matrix setup. Okay, and then you just have the engine user, or not user, but update, which calls user update. Here are some events. User update is supposed to be where your user, like user facing stuff will be stored, like the actual graph itself, which will have to be computed and so on. But okay, let's let's try to compile this. So how this works is you first have to compile BGFX. At least this is how I did it. You first have to go into third party, first into BGFX CMake, because in order to compile the project at all, you will have to compile the shaders, like for vertices, for the fragments and so on. And this, how do you do this? Well, you do this with some tools. You have to use BGFX's tools that will convert those files into actual shader binaries. It's kind of funny because you have to compile BGFX before linking it with the project. So what you do is just go into BGFX CMake, and you have the standard routine for compiling the thing. And I suggest you do make J16 or however many cores you have on your computer, because this will speed it up a lot. I usually used only one core, but that took about an hour, I think. So yeah, put more cores and you will be fine. So while this is configuring, I will just cut the recording. Okay, so now it has compiled, and after you compile BGFX, you might find some binaries inside of CMake BGFX, specifically shader C, texture V, geometry V, and geometry C. These are just basic utilities. You can find more information on the website of the library, but you can use them to compile shaders, to view textures, to view geometry, and to compile geometry. I guess the name is self-explanatory. So let me think. Okay, I usually just do a symlink for all of this. So what we will do is lns, what's the okay, syntax. So we have pwd, then third party, BGFX CMake, build CMake BGFX, shader C, tools. Oh, we have to create the tools directory, and then shader C, tools, shader C. Same for, I think you also need geometry C, but not really, or texture V. You know what, let's just include all of them. That, so you can verify that if you go into tools and run shader C, it will run actually something, so that means that everything is working. So if you go into CMake list, you can see at the end of the CMake that this is actually something that you use at the end of the day. Here, when you are building shaders into build/shaders, you actually set the shader command inside of tools, shader C, also for textures, but we don't have textures. and we don't even need them, so at least not in this case. But if you do, you have to link as well the texture compiler, except I'm not sure why we didn't see it. Anyway, yeah. Okay, that should be all. Now we should go and make our build directory, and let's just see what happens if we try to compile this. Okay, of course, policy version minimum. Honestly, why this happens is because I believe third-party imgui CMake lists. Yeah, so make minimum file version. Imgui CMake third party is kind of out of date. Not necessarily the imgui version itself, but you will see what I mean. If we go to imgui CMake, this is a very old CMake repository. This has been what? This is from 2022 or 2015, so quite old, especially if you go into imgui. You can see it's from 2015. So what you have to do also, this is actually a requirement, you have to pull the latest one. So we have the latest one, yeah, and modify the CMake of imgui. So I'm just gonna take a look here. We have to see all of the CPP files. Ah, Christ. Whatever, I'm just gonna... Okay. I usually, what I do is modify all of these and put them into multiple lines because I like it that way. It's easier to modify the file. So here I usually first put all of the header files, but not including these. So PHDRs, you put imgui internal, and that's all. Maybe also in config, but I don't think it changes. It's not gonna do harm. So then for CPP, we have to add quite a few. So let's see, imgui demo, imgui draw, imgui tables, widgets, and for good measure I put it also here, but you have to modify this inst sxc here. Okay, I think that's all we have to do for imgui, although I think there will also be another issue soon, so we will see. If we try to compile now, this is firstly, just compiling BGFX as usual, pretty heavy stuff. But after a while, I think we will see an error. So I'm just gonna cut to that directly. Okay, I am back, and as you can see, we have an error, and this is because we compiled in parallel. The error is not exactly visible, but if you compile it once again, you will quickly see what the error is. And this, I'm just lost, but I eventually figured it out because I did try to compile this repository a few days ago, because I just had to make a new project. In fact, I will make the second video is exactly about the new project I'm making. But the way I solved this issue was actually going to the file and seeing where the hell texture ID, if you just do a little bit of Googling, you will see that you have to replace this because it's legacy. Get text ID. And now I don't actually remember. God damn it. I don't remember if it was with capital ID. Get text ID. What? Get text ID. Let me just enforce this. Okay, so it's capital both of them. Get text ID. Yep. So this tells me that I have to do this and get text ID. Okay. This still will not work, by the way. If you compile it, like I compile it like that. If you try to compile this, it will throw you. What? Never mind. I guess it doesn't do that anymore. But I swear, like a couple of days ago, it did. I had to modify some code inside of imgui. But I guess they updated it and now it will work, hopefully. No, this is the problem. An assertion at runtime. So, exactly. So, if I try to edit this file at line 3900, permission denied, what? Oh yeah. So here's the thing, it tries to assert, yeah, and just a bit of analysis, I figured, you know what, it's not gonna do any harm if I just comment it out and see if it works. So, yeah. It does work though, so, yeah, this is how you compile it. It's quite a bit of playing around, but eventually you get to something like this. And this, by the way, I should have pointed it out at the beginning, it's not dependent on the example structure that the BGFX uses in its examples. You have the examples, you know what I'm talking about. If you look at the structure of BGFX, you have the examples, and let's say something like this, not metaballs CPP. You have a structure your program has to follow. Like you need to actually make a class, and this will be your main project. You instead of a main function, you'll have an init function. Then you'll have an update. It forces you into some sort of thing. So how do you do it headless without sort of relying on this? This is an example of how you do it. I tried to do it without that, stripping away all of the things and using BGFX as an actual library without it forcing me to use a example, whatever, an object. You know, I wanted to create the object myself. So here it is. Engine CPP, engine init. You actually see that we call glfw, set some callbacks, initialize BGFX, and this, if you're wondering, it was a bit of a pain to figure out how to do without in headless mode. But a bit of googling, a bit of reading the source code of BGFX, you slowly figure it out. But it's really painful. At least it teaches you something. You get a better sense of what is happening under the hood, and you get more comfortable looking at the source code. But it was quite painful. Eventually you figure it out though, hopefully. Like piece by piece. I know for this line in particular, I had to look up a Stack Overflow post specifically to solve this, to get this working. Then you have to look at the examples for how to create uniforms and so on. I'm not even gonna mention, you have to you also have a Discord community for BGFX where the owner will reply to you if you don't ask stupid questions, which really helped me a lot with his suggestions, I should point out. So really good community, as long as you're not asking too many questions that you could have just googled or yeah. But anyhow, if you want to read the source code, or if you want to use this as a beginner template, you're free to do so. This is why I made this guide, to help somebody who's also struggling with BGFX, because it took me about I think 6 months to get a project like this for the function rendering, something like this working. Then I was really proud of myself because I actually managed to do it, but yeah, still took quite a lot, and it still crashes. If you change the sampling rate, you will get a segfault eventually, but still kind of fun. But yeah, that was it. Eventually I used this boilerplate project for my second project, which I showed by accident in the beginning, Newton's eye. It's just to view the interactions of the gravitational field in between objects, and it really helped me because using this boilerplate I could have just started out of there and didn't bother creating something from scratch. So I'm really glad I made this thing. But hey, if you make something better one day, hopefully you can reach out and I can check it out if you want. But if not, then I think you have this big stack on, what the hell, from which I also took some inspiration, which just is a stack of BGFX, imgui, glfw, and glm, and some other utilities. Bigger, or I think it was called Bigger 2. Maybe? No. Well, there's quite a few stacks for this. But yeah, there's quite a few stacks, and they all go headless mode, so you have some examples of how to do it without relying on the examples that BGFX gives you. So yeah, that's the tutorial for now.